So let's start with a few questions. Why study mythology? Why understand the evolution of myths? What significance does mythology hold beyond its religious, socio-political, and entertainment value? I often get asked these questions, although not in these words, along with another one, that how did someone so young like me get into this world of religious texts? For religion is an old man's affair. Hi, I am Vedant, and this is Crash Course Mythology. When we speak of mythology, the general notion is to attach it to religion. Only those who actively practice and teach the religion should know the stories extensively. And when we take away the religious context of mythology, we subconsciously categorize them into three aspects. First, these are stories for children to be told while engaging their ever-distracted selves. When I was a child, my parents would feed me food along with these stories, or put me to sleep while taking me on this mythical dreamland. Most of us have grown up with our parents and grandparents telling us these stories. The second aspect is that these are moral stories for those who have lost their paths to find their purpose in life. From the ones in their teenage years to those in their midlife, I have seen every age group pick up a spiritual book when they wanted to seek the answers that they did not have. And the third aspect is that the stories are comfort for those on their deathbed, for them to achieve a good death and be spared from the cycle of birth and rebirth. The same grandparents who animatedly told us these stories in our childhood seem to cling on to them as an absolute truth when they near their end. But mythology is not limited to childbirth, childhood, midlife, and death. It has been seeped into our very own being. And by seeped, I mean that it has been our way of devising answers to everything that we cannot explain, and humanizing the concepts behind them. When the world asked why earthquakes occur, the myths answered with an elaborate story of the birth of Agni, the god of fire, who jumped into the waters as soon as he was born, and with his heat made the earth shake and tremble. Mythology gives our lives and surroundings a meaning. It gives us an identity. Our names, our lineage, the cities that we come from, all carry the stories from myths within them. A certain Aditya Yadav from Delhi might not know that his name speaks of the bright sons of Aditi, which have now come to mean the different forms of Surya. Or that his surname speaks of the cursed clan of the Yadavas from Mahabharata, which ended up destroying itself. Or that the city he prides as his hometown was once known as the mighty kingdom of the Pandavas by the name of Indraprastha. My own name, Vedant, creates a connection with the Upanishads, the philosophical text from the Vedic scriptures. Mythology allows us to be a part of society. It creates a connection between us and the stories that we have been told so far. Apologies, I'll have to take. It gives you a history to trace back. People find solace in their origin stories, which is why mythology thrives and gets molded in politics. Take away the origin of the people, and you make them vulnerable enough to be oppressed, but give them their own origin stories, and you empower them beyond measures. Individuality feeds the community. As a mythologist and a research consultant, my job is not only to find the accurate scriptural representations, but to bring an unexplored perspective into light and make the mythical stories relevant to the times. By doing so, it allows us to be inclusive of the ideas that have been shunned so far. One of the major problems that I face in my job and my life is the unfamiliarity of the audience with the myths. We know the stories of Ramayana and Mahabharata. We may know the stories of Vishnu, Shiva, Shakti, but the stories beyond these deities and texts need to be brought into the popular mediums of storytelling. When I first read the scriptures, I realized that our perceptions towards the deities like Indra, Agni, Vayu, or the heroes such as Karna, Draupadi, or Bhim is vastly different from their scriptural representation. Since then, it became an integral part of my life to create awareness towards reading the scriptures. An important part of my job is also to understand that myths are ever evolving. Even though they bestow us with the identity to begin with, soon they become the reflection of the society that they have been helped in building. From understanding the mythical backgrounds of festivities and practices to realizing the mindset of people based on the versions of the myths they have read, I have found a perspective in my own life as well as the structure of the society to an extent. When the story is favored by the public, the myths become subject of change. Iterations are made. Eulogies are written. Homage is paid to the story in various forms. When the scripture rises to the level of a national epic, it carries not only the story, but the belief of the entire society. We all know the story of Ramayana. Ram, the hero, is exiled into the forest, and he is accompanied by his wife Sita and his brother Lakshmana. On an expedition to bring a golden deer for his dear wife, Ram is separated from Sita, and taking advantage of this, the Rakshas Queen Ravana kidnaps her. With the help of the extraordinary Vanaras, Ram must defeat Ravana and bring Sita back. A simple tale of the damsel in distress becomes the Itihasa of India today. Over 300 versions of these stories are written just in the ancient and medieval times, with countless of modern versions still being written. Each of these versions carry a different representation of Ram and his story. Valmiki Ramayana portrays Ram as a simple human transcending into a hero. But Adhyatma Ramayana, or Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas, gives him the divination which has descended onto earth to end the evil. Similarly, Valmiki Ramayana gives the idea of the exile as the plot of Manthara and Kaikeyi, but the Buddhist version known as the Dasharatha Jataka credits this idea to Dasharatha, for he fears that if Ram stayed in the capital, he will be killed by Kaikeyi. Ravana in Valmiki's version is engulfed with lust and envy, but the Ravana in Tulsidasa's Ramcharitmanas is simply stuck in a karmic cycle, and his only refuge is death by the hands of Ram. These stories do not just bring literary changes to the texts, but also cultural changes. In the Jain version of Ramayana, it is Lakshmana who kills Ravana, as the Jains believe that all life is sacred, and this belief is represented through the main hero, Ram. In the Mappala Ramayana from the Kerala side, both Ram and Ravana are Muslims who offer namaz. The texture, the weave, the colors of these stories keep on changing, but the episodes remain intact. You may have seen countless portrayals of Rama, Sita, Lakshmana in their attire in the Vanavasa. There was a recent row about it regarding a certain project. What does Ram wear in his Vanavasa? Does he wear white? Does he wear satin? But would it surprise you if I tell you that the answer is neither? He wears clothes made out of jute or tree bark and animal hide. But today, this answer will be considered wrong, as sometimes an idea takes hold of the society and it becomes a true myth. a representation sticks beyond generations and is carried into modern times to influence certain opinions. Such is the tale of the Lakshmana Rekha. When Ram has gone to get the golden deer, Lakshmana with Sita hears his brother's plea for help. But before leaving, he creates a protective circle around their hut and tells Sita not to cross the line. Later, Ravana disguises himself and tricks Sita into crossing the line and kidnaps her. But interestingly, the episode of Lakshmana Rekha does not appear in the Valmiki Ramayana. The first appearance of this episode is in the Tamil version known as the Kamba Ramayana. So how does this addition shape our thinking? When the Lakshmana Rekha is absent, Ravana forces himself inside the hut, and with that force takes Sita away, a simple abduction. But when the Lakshmana Rekha comes into play, the blame of crossing the line falls on Sita. Had she not been fooled by the trickery of Ravana, could she have been saved? Is it her that is at fault? Questions that would not exist otherwise start popping up because of an innocuous addition. Today, the idea that mythology belongs to the older generations is diminishing. Millions of young adult minds have the access to multiple versions of these stories. And as the modern raconteurs of India, it becomes our responsibility to tell these stories as authentically as it is possible, but with a flair of humanity and critical thinking, which is only added through frequent revisions of these stories with the changing cultural, moral, and regional values. Tell these stories to the world, but before you tell them, learn them. Understand them to your capacity and then some more. Imagine yourself sitting at the same yajna as your ancestors must have sat when they first exchanged these myths. Imagine them asking questions to the world and finding their answers in the flickering lights and the shadows of the dark. You may be ages apart from your ancestors, but you're one with the story as you tell them. Tell the generations to come these stories so that when the world asks them question, the myths will help them get to the answer. Thank you.